Hello and welcome to VNN Canada, where we have brought once again a very special episode. And we are sitting today with MP Marwan Tabbara. He's from Kitchener and he is seeking re-election during these federal elections. And we are going to talk to him about some nice and some hard questions. So let's see how he fares. Mr. Marwan, thank you very much for talking to us. We are so pleased that you could make it. We understand that you have been extremely busy, but still, thank you for coming to our studios. We would like to ask you, starting from the beginning, in the last 4 years, what have been your achievements in your riding? Because I'm sure 4 years back, when you were on the election trail, you must have promised a lot of things. So how many promises have been fulfilled? And if you are re-elected, what would you like to achieve, which you think were not really completely, taken care of?
Fazia, first of all, thank you very much for having me on the show. It's a pleasure to be here in Mississauga. And I think we've accomplished a lot, specifically in my riding. My riding in Kitchener, Waterloo, Cambridge area is one of the fastest growing regions in Ontario. So we have a lot of families moving in. One of the things that we wanted to tackle, and one things that we did under the 4 years that I was a member of Parliament, is there's 30,000 commuters that are coming into our region and 30,000 going to the GTA. So there's a lot of congestions on our highway on the 401, and we just completed a $97 million highway expansion project so that we can get commuters off the road and to their work and to their families a lot quicker. So I'm very proud of that achievement. The Canada Child Benefit, per month we get an average of $7 million coming into my riding each and every month, which helps pay bills, which helps moms and dads raise their children, because the cost of raising kids is increasing, and we want to help that with families. So those are the couple of things, but there's many more if you still want me to get more into some of the details, particularly in my riding.
Yeah, what would you like to achieve if re-elected, yes?
Just continue the growth. I mean, also Conestoga College is in my riding. They asked for another expansion to their campus, and we were able to allocate millions of dollars to their campus. It's a growing campus. There's a lot of international students actually coming from India, from Pakistan, and it's fueling a lot of growth in our region. Also, we've invested in a lot of companies. For example, Toyota Motor Manufacturing is in my riding. We've invested, I believe, $120 million alongside with the province, and we've created 400 new jobs. It's continuing to grow, and we're seeing a great job growth within that. They're well-paying jobs, and Toyota's been around a very long time in my region.
Okay. Marwan, in your riding, we can see not really much competition, but how tough do you think this fight is going to be while you are knocking at the doors? What are you hearing from people? Are they still pro-liberal, or are they going to look for some change? What is your gut feeling there?
In my riding, I think people have a choice this next election. They can look at the record that we've done. We've created 1 million jobs within over last 4 years. We've lifted 300,000 children out of poverty with our Canada Child Benefit, which is more generous now. We've increased the GIS for seniors, lifting 20,000 seniors out of poverty. We've done a lot for families. We're putting a price on pollution. We're really taking a strong stance on tackling climate change, which is one of the biggest threats, not only to Canada, but to our planet. And we want to ensure that we're moving forward and making sure that pollution is not free again. While other parties are still now realizing that climate change is a real threat and really proposing an option with no detail, with no cost. We want to make sure that we're putting a price on carbon, and reinstating a rebate, which a family of 4 will receive $307 back during tax time when they file their taxes.
Okay. One of the biggest criticisms when I, as a journalist, go in the community, what I hear is that the liberal immigration policy is really flawed. They have called in people who cannot find jobs, who cannot assimilate, and they are being taken care of on taxpayers' money. And I'm sure you must have heard the statement of Maxime Bernier. He said, I'm going to change this whole system of immigration, and I will stop it unless and until it is, absolutely vital for the country to invite those immigrants. So, what do you have to say about this?
On immigration, I believe the Canadian public needs to realize that we have an aging population here in Canada. The average age in Canada is around 43, 44 years of age, and in the East Coast, it's even higher. We can't have an aging population in Canada, and unfortunately, Canadians here are not populating as much. We have, as an average of 1 or 2 child per family, and if we don't do anything in the next couple of years, in the next 20 years down the line, our ratio is going to be, for every 1 person retiring, there's only 2 that are in the workforce. We can't have that ratio. It will collapse our economy. We need to have, for every 1 person retiring, we need to have around 6 to 8 people working. So how do we do that? How do we change those ratios? We rely on immigration. Absolutely, we want to make sure that we bring in economic migrants. For example, in my region, we have implemented a global skills strategy. So in my region, the high-tech sector is a very strong sector that employs a lot of people. So the high-tech sector said it was taking us around 2 months to get top global talent for high-tech workers to come work in our region. So we implemented a global skills strategy, and now it takes 2 weeks to bring in global talent. So this is the type of immigration we want to fuel. Yes, absolutely. There are, around the world, there has been instability. If you look back a couple of years ago, there was around 65 million refugees worldwide, and now there's 72, and that's just increased within the last couple of years. So the United Nations has come up with a global impact on migration, and it calls for safe, orderly, and regular migration. It's a non-binding motion that is a document, and there's many countries that signed on. Various countries, overwhelmingly majority of the countries signed on, and we want to make sure that we're a safe, orderly, and compassionate country.
Okay. One of the biggest issues, which is a perception perhaps in society, and the Liberal government has not been able to present its point of view very clearly, is the illegal border crossings. That's what the people say. Liberal government might differ from the term, but they are really upset. All these people coming in and nobody is being deported. Maybe out of thousands, just a few hundred have been deported. So they are being taken care of on taxpayers' money. How do you explain this phenomenon?
So, as I mentioned before, we've signed on to the United Nations document, and it calls for safe, orderly, and regular migration. And that's what we want to have at our borders, regular migration. So yes, has there been an uptick at the borders in irregular migration? There has, and we ensure that we're a compassionate country. We look and we assess people on their asylum claim, and if they have a legitimate asylum claim where they're fleeing violence and torture, Canada will take them in and make sure that they have a safe country to call home. However, if their asylum claim is denied and they're not facing any persecution from the country that they're coming from, then they will be deported back. So once those claims get assessed and are reviewed by the Borders CBSA and by immigration, they will be returned back to their country.
Okay. One of the biggest problems, again, what the society feels pinch about is that there are people like us who come through proper processes in this country. Mm-hmm. Then there are students who come in this country with the purpose of studying, and the Canadian government has been extremely kind to give them 20 hours to work. Whereas if you know the bigger universities of the world like Oxford and Cambridge and Ivy League universities of USA, they do not let their students work at all. right? Now, Canada has been very compassionate, like I just said, but those students are working much more than 20 hours. Is the government aware of this? How are they tackling this? How will this stop the employers to not offer students more than 20 hours? And how can students be restricted that beyond 20 hours they should not be working?
Well, I mean, first of all, students, they need to, we welcome a lot of international students. They've helped us grow in our region and in our country, and in my region specifically, they've helped with a lot of amazing startups that we've had. So students contribute a lot to our society. This is a process that we have to look at and we have to consider, and we have to work with the universities, work with provinces, and work with the city as well, to ensure that the terms that these students came under, they're respecting these terms, and they're working within these terms, and we need to ensure that we take an approach with all partners, whether it's the school, whether it's the city, whether it's provincial government, and to ensure that these students are working on the terms that they immigrated with.
But my question is the Liberal government even cognizant of the issue, and has any plan been made to ensure this does not happen? This happens with, you can say with any other groups, right? There may be some people that may be on social assistance that may be working as well. And we have to ensure that every program that is in place, there's clear and laid out rules. And if those people are not following those rules, and they're reported or they're found of guilty of breaking those rules, then the governments or provincial governments or city or the school should inform certain organizations, and we will take action and ensure that the commitments that were made before are followed. Okay. One of the biggest failures of what the people think of the Liberal government has been not really, although they have been saying we are investing in infrastructure, but for example, the city where I live in Brampton, I hear from a lot of truckers, there is no highway. So infrastructure has not been developed to the extent that the Liberal government promised. A big city like Brampton doesn't, for example, I know it's not your writing, but I'm just giving an example, doesn't have its own university, doesn't have, a proper transit system. Do you see these problems? And how do you justify that when the Liberal government said we are going to invest on infrastructure, and because of this, the wealth will be generated and it will come back? So what do you have to say?
Our government has more than any other government invested more on infrastructure. Billions and billions of dollars have went to infrastructure. I can't speak specifically for Brampton. Absolutely, Brampton is growing quite rapidly. The GTA is as well. And I gave you an earlier example in my region. Our highway system was 6 lanes, and now it's increased to if not 10 lanes, I think 12 lanes even in this one stretch where there was a lot of congestion, and that was $97 million project on the 401. So we are investing in infrastructure. We know that we need to get our products to market faster, and I believe these truckers would feel the same way. They need to get their product to market faster. They want to get home faster, and we really want to ensure that we invest in Canadians, we invest in our roads, in our transportation system, because we have to look outwards 20, 30, 50 years down the road. But however, we need to have a good partner in the province as well. We need to have a partner that sees that same investment in Canadians instead of cuts in austerity Canadians.
Yeah. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has recently announced some goodies for the seniors. But don't you think it's too late? What do you have to say about it?
No, I think, we started off, the old age eligibility was at 67. We brought that back down to 65. We've increased the GIS, which has lifted 20,000 seniors out of poverty under our watch in the last 4 years. And the recent announcement which just came last week, there's an enhancement to the CPP for seniors over 75 years of age.
But do you think people are going to wait that long or live that long to get those benefits?
Absolutely. People are living a lot longer. I mean, we encourage people to, save during the years that they are working, but we also know that there's tremendous pressure on seniors right now, and we want to alleviate that pressure, and we want to lift any senior that is out of poverty or vulnerable. We want to ensure that we're lifting them out of poverty.
Okay. Marwan, you are from Lebanon. All this political experience that you are gaining here, do you think you are going to go back to Lebanon and contest for the Prime Minister's job?
No, absolutely. I'm a member of Parliament here in Canada. I only came when I was very young, but I really love serving Canadians and the riding that I'm in.
Okay, thank you very much. It was an absolute pleasure. Absolute pleasure talking to you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And that's all from us this morning. We will keep bringing to you more exciting discussions with other members of Parliament and candidates in waiting. Please keep watching VNN Canada.